Hi guys, welcome back to the Home and Homestead. My name is Rebecca, and today on the Homestead you'll be joining me in the kitchen while we do a cook with me using the Instant Pot. And we'll be making a Reuben Rotini dish. This will be great for dinner, and I'll be doing multiple meals with you guys using corned beef. We'll be doing a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So follow along with me today while we make our dinner using corned beef to make Reuben Rotini in the Instant Pot. So here I have my 8-quart Instant Pot. This is a great way to use up leftover corned beef from a previous meal or leftover pastrami. You can also make your corned beef fresh, which is what I'm going to be doing today, just in case you don't have any leftovers sitting in the refrigerator. So what we're going to do is add 1 cup of beef broth. And I have my homemade beef bone broth here, and I'll pour in about 1 cup. And we'll place the trivet into the liner pan there. Then you're going to take about 1/2 of an onion and lay it onto the trivet here. And then we'll place our corned beef brisket meat on top of the onion. Now I have a 1-pound portion of the corned beef brisket here. It can be difficult to find a 1-pound corned beef brisket. You'll be more likely to find a 2 to 3 pound. So if you find a 2-pound corned beef brisket, you could double this recipe, or you could just cut that in half and freeze, or use the other portion for another recipe. And as I said earlier, I'll be doing a breakfast, lunch, and dinner using the corned beef, so maybe one of the other recipes might interest you to use that leftover corned beef brisket. So now the corned beef brisket came with a little packet of seasonings, so I'm going to sprinkle that over the top. And I just flipped it over. I prefer the fat side up when I'm cooking in the Instant Pot, so I sprinkle the seasoning on over the fat side. Now we'll plug in our Instant Pot. We'll put our pressure lid on. Turn it on to seal. Then we'll cook it on high pressure for 70 minutes, or 1 hour and 10 minutes. I have it on the keep warm setting because once the cook time has elapsed, we'll do a 15-minute natural release, followed by a quick release. So now we'll let the Instant Pot do its thing and cook our corned beef brisket, and then we'll move on to the next step for making this Reuben Rotini. Okay, so the Instant Pot just beeped and it finished the cook time. So since I have it on keep warm, it says L and these numbers. So we'll let this do a natural release, meaning we'll just let the Instant Pot naturally release some of its steam on its own. And after that point, we'll put our steam diverter on and we'll do a quick release. So we'll let this do a natural release. Alright, so now we will put the steam diverter on and turn it. Okay, the little valve in back fell and it's flat with the lid. Now we'll just remove the Instant Pot lid. We'll set that off to the side. Now we're going to take these pieces of corned beef. We'll place them on a cutting board just to let them rest for a while. Then I'll slice them up and cut it into the size pieces that we want for our rotini dish. So now we're just going to take the liner pot out and we'll dump out this liquid and discard the onions that are in there. Then we'll put the liner pot back in. Let me turn the Instant Pot off. Now if you're using leftover corned beef or leftover pastrami, you would start making this recipe from now. So now to the Instant Pot, we will add 1 pound of rotini pasta. And next we will add 3 cups of a beef broth or beef stock. This is where the homemade beef broth that we made together works well. You can check out a video on how I make my homemade beef bone broth or beef stock out of some scrap vegetables and beef soup bones. So we'll add the 3 cups of beef stock in there. We'll add 2 cups of a chicken broth or a chicken stock. Now we'll mix this all together. You just want to try to press down the pasta so that most of it is covered with the liquid. If some are kind of sticking out on top, that's fine. Now what we're going to do is add our Instant Pot lid, pressurized lid. Turn it to the lock setting, Turn the valve to sealing. And we're going to cook this on high for 5 minutes. So you press pressure cook. You might say manual here. It says normal and high. We're going to cook for 5 minutes. So let me get this timer set here. There we go. So now we'll let the Instant Pot cook our pasta. Once this is finished with the 5-minute cook time, we'll do a quick release of the pressure. In the meantime, I'll head over to this corned beef here and I'll get this sliced up. You can also take this time to slice up your leftover corned beef or pastrami. I'm going to slice it in about 1/4-inch slices and then cut that into little pieces. But make the meat pieces whatever size and shape you prefer. So the first thing I like to do is if I cook the corned beef fresh just now as I did with you guys, I like to wipe off the little spices that came in the spice packet. And it's best to do while the corned beef is warm. If you're using a leftover corned beef or pastrami, you wouldn't have to do this step because it would already be done. Okay, let me discard this. All right, so now we can cut our corned beef into the size and shape that we want. So first thing I do is I like to lay the corned beef so I can see what direction the grains are going for the meat. You want to cut against the grain. So the grains are going in this direction, so we're going to cut them at a 90-degree angle of that. We'll cut about 1/4 inch thick, the size that I'm going for today. I just coarsely run the knife through the other direction just to give nice pieces of the corned beef. There we go. Now this is all ready to be added to our dish later. Okay, so the cook time just elapsed. So now I'm going to put my steam diverter on. Do a quick release of the steam. Okay, the little red valve dropped flat with the Instant Pot lid. So now we can remove the lid, set that aside, just go in here and stir this a little bit. Now the pasta is all cooked and there's a little bit of liquid in there still. To this we're going to add 1 teaspoon of caraway seed. You can either add the caraway seed before or after the pasta is cooked. If you like a little more of that caraway seed crunch, apply it after like I'm doing today. We'll add a 1/2 cup of Thousand Island dressing. And we'll add 4 ounces or 1/2 of a block of cream cheese. We're just going to let this sit on the keep warm setting until that cream cheese melts. You can press cancel and hit the keep warm button again, and we'll put it to normal keep warm. This is set for an hour. You can adjust as needed. So just come in and stir it from time to time until all that cream cheese melts. I did cut the cream cheese into smaller pieces, so that will help with the melting of the cheese. Let's give this another stir. There we go, it's pretty well melted. Now we'll add our corned beef to here. This we cooked fresh together today. You could certainly use leftover corned beef or leftover pastrami. Next we'll add 16 ounces or 1/2 of a large jar of sauerkraut, and I drained it and I squeezed it with some paper towels to get it nice and dry. We'll add that in here. And this is why I was saying earlier, if you can only find a 2-pound corned beef brisket, you could certainly double up this recipe, and then you would use a whole package of cream cheese and a whole container of the large sauerkraut. Okay. And finally, we will add 2 cups of shredded Swiss cheese or Monterey Jack cheese works well. That's what I'm doing today, is Monterey Jack cheese. I just find that it melts nicely. Stir the cheese through there. And now I'll add the cover. This will help the Instant Pot warm through that cheese and also keep it nice and warm till we're ready to eat. So I'll leave the Instant Pot on the keep warm setting. That'll allow everything to heat through and help melt that shredded cheese. And I'll plate some of this up so that we can have a closer look at our Reuben Rotini. So let's plate some of this up here. Alright guys, here you have it. Here's our Reuben Rotini. It was easily prepared in the Instant Pot. This would make a really nice dinner. If you wanted to, you could garnish with some caraway seeds on top. This is a great way to use up some corned beef brisket leftovers or pastrami leftovers, or like we did today, just make some fresh. So let's have a taste here. This is a nice and creamy pasta dish with all the flavors of a Reuben sandwich. Well, if you enjoy the flavors of a Reuben sandwich and you wanted something a little different to try for dinner, you should consider giving this recipe a try. It's rather flavorful and hearty. This would make a tasty pasta dinner. We really easily made this in the Instant Pot, only dirtying one pot to do this whole process. Well, if you liked other ideas on what to do with your leftover corned beef or corned beef and cabbage meals, you can check out some videos I have on that. I have a Baltic supper meal as well as the traditional corned beef and cabbage. You can see how I prepare that in the Instant Pot. You can also check out how I make a homemade pastrami using a corned beef brisket. Well, hopefully spending time with me in the kitchen today has inspired you to try out some new recipes. And hopefully today, seeing the combinations of a traditional Reuben sandwich made into a pasta dish, you'll want to try this recipe yourself. If you'd like to check out what other recipes I have a playlist for recipes in the kitchen, as well as a number of food preservation videos where you can see we made the beef bone broth together and then canned that in our pressure canner. Well, if you're new to the channel, I would appreciate you subscribing. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. See you next time. Take care.